Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai, Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadhish ki Jai, Javangresh Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksharinilitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dhanati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Pachitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So before I begin, I wanted to say that I'm very happy to be back to Srila Prabhupada's transcendental headquarters in the Western world, New Dwarakadam, in the association of so many wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And with all of your blessings and on the instructions on Archita Prabhu, we'll be continue reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8. Lord Krishna shows the universal form to his mother Yashoda. And so we'll be reading text 47 and 48 as well. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pitaro Nanvavindetam. Pitaro Nanvavindetam. Krishna Dadarbhake Hitam. Krishna Dadarbhake Hitam. Gayancha Japi Kavayo. Gayancha Japi Kavayo. Yalloka Shamalapaham. Yalloka Shamalapaham. Pitaro Nanu Binditam. Krishna Dadarbhake Hitam. Gayancha Japi Kavayo. Yalloka Shamalapaham. Synonyms: Pitaro, the actual father and mother of Krishna. Na, not. Anvavindetam, enjoy it. Krishna, of Krishna. Udara, magnanimous. Arbaka ihitam, the childhood pastimes he performed. Gayanti, are glorifying. Adya api, even today. Kavayaha, great sages and saintly persons. Yat, which is. Loka shamalapaham, by hearing of which the contamination of the whole material world is vanquished. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhaya Charana Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although Krishna was so pleased with Vasudeva and Devaki that he descended as their son, they could not enjoy Krishna's magnanimous childhood pastimes, which are so great that simply chanting about them vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, however, enjoyed these pastimes fully, and therefore their position is always better than that of Vasudeva and Devaki. Purport. Krishna actually took birth from the womb of Devaki, but just after his birth he was transferred to the home of Mother Yashoda. Devaki could not even have Krishna suck her breast. Therefore Parikshit Maharaj was astonished. How had Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj become so fortunate that they enjoyed the complete childhood pastimes of Krishna, which are still glorified by saintly persons? What had they done in the past by which they were elevated to such an exalted position? So these are questions only, and there are no answers. That's why we're going to be reading next verse, which provides answers. Text 48. Shri Shuka Vacha Dronavasunam Pravaro Daraya Varyaya Saha Karishyamana Adeshan Brahmanas Tam Uvachaha. Shukadeva Goswami said, to follow the orders of Lord Brahma, Drona, the best of the Vasus, along with his wife Dhara, spoke to Lord Brahma in this way. Purport, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 537, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitaphis Tabhirya Eva Nijarasa Rupataya Kalabhi Goloka Eva Nivasat Akilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. When Krishna descends anywhere, he is accompanied by his own associates. These associates are not ordinary living beings. Krishna's pastimes are eternal, and when he descends, he comes with his associates. Therefore, Nanda and Mother Yashoda are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. This means that whenever Krishna descends, Nanda and Yashoda, as well as Vasudeva and Devaki, also descend as the Lord's father and mother. Their personalities are expansions of Krishna's personal body. They are not ordinary living beings. Maharaj Parikshit knew this, but he was curious to know from Shukadeva Goswami whether it is possible for an ordinary human being to come to the stage by sadhana siddhi. There are two kinds of perfection, nitya siddhi and sadhana siddhi. A nitya siddha is one who is eternally Krishna's associate, an expansion of Krishna's personal body, whereas a sadhana siddha is an ordinary human being who, by executing pious activities and following regulative principles of devotional service, also comes to that stage. Thus, the purpose of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiry was to determine whether an ordinary human being can attain the position of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Shukadeva Goswami answered this question as follows. And so we're not going to read any further. And if you want to know the answer to that question, you will learn that tomorrow. So this should be an impetus to continue coming to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam gives very amazing descriptions, especially 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Maharaj Parikshit, in here he says, these pastimes of Krishna, childhood pastimes of Krishna, are so great that simply by chanting about them, that vanquishes the contamination of the material world. And of course, not only that, but brings a lot of transcendental pleasure, as mentioned in here. And I was just thinking that we're practically in the beginning of the 10th canto, and we're so fortunate. We have more than 80 chapters of pure nectar ahead of us to enjoy. And I was thinking, could anyone be more fortunate than us? So practically we should be jealous of ourselves or something, that we're so lucky. And Maharaj Parikshit is expressing a lot of interest is asking Shukadeva Goswami to elaborate on all the details, and this is what makes that exchange so sweet, that Krishna personally manifests. And this has been described by Lord Kapiladev. This morning we were reading one of those texts Svavas Prabhu read for us. And in chapter 25 of the third canto, text 25, there is a very famous statement made by Kapiladev about the benefit which comes from hearing and discussing of his pastimes. Satam prasanga mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha tajjasanada sopavarga vartmani sadaratir bhaktir anukramishiti. He uses very interesting expression. He says satam prasanga, and even though it is similar to sadhu sangha, because satam means devotees, same like sadhu, because sadbhava sadhubhavecha, that those who are interested in eternal subject matters, they are called sadhus or devotees. And the other word he is using is prasanga. So we know what is sangha, but what is pra? Pra is the prefix which intensifies the meaning of the word. In Sanskrit it's called prakrishta rupena. Like we have prahlada. We know hlada, like Hladini Shakti, that's the energy of pleasure, which is personified by Srimati Radharani. And pra is intensifying prefix. That's why this boy Prahlad was so blissful that even the ongoing attempts of assassinate him coming from his own father could not upset him. So he was so happy. And so prasanga means very intense sangha, very deep sangha, satam prasanga. When devotees are associating amongst themselves, not just on a formal basis, but they discuss about Krishna because they're really interested. It's heart-to-heart exchange. And then Lord Kapiladev says, Satam prasanga mama virya samvido. These devotees in this very deep, through this very deep exchange, they discuss mama virya samvido, my virya means heroic activities. And bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha, that this katha, these talks, bhavanti, they become hrit karna rasayana. Rasayana means nectar, not just nectar, but rejuvenating elixir, which gives you back youth. And so this elixir, rejuvenating elixir of Krishna's pastimes, is taken through karna, through the ear, and then he goes into hrit, into the heart. And then what's happening after that? Tajjoshanam ashvapavarga vartmani. Very quickly, devotee traverses the path of apavarga. What is apavarga? Srila Prabhupada explains that material life means 5 things. These are the, what do you call them? Labial consonants in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, you know, the sounds which you make with the lips. And so there are 5 of those, papha, babha, ma. And acharyas are explaining that each of those consonants is standing for one feature of the material existence, and I'm sure that some of the devotees remember those. So what is pa? Parishrama, yeah, parishrama means hard work. Materialists are working so hard, like donkeys almost. And how hard they work? Pa, what is pa? Peda, yeah, peda means foaming in the mouth. I actually seen that one time, how someone was working so hard that he had foam in the corners of his mouth. That's really terrible. And so they work so hard with the foam in their mouth, and then what is the reward they receive? It is ba. What is ba? Yeah, that actually it is bandha. They become bound up by the three modes of nature. Can you imagine working so hard and then, okay, this is your salary, you're bound up by the chains, and you can sit like that forever, chained up. And then, what's the next thing? Bha. What is bha? Yeah, like bhaya, fear. They become very fearful. And what is the ultimate result? Is ma. What is ma? Yeah, death. So this is material life. You work very hard with the foam in your mouth, you become bound up, fearful, and at the end you die. So you live very miserable life, and then I guess death comes as a relief. And so some people even accelerate that process. Actually, the psychologists, they made the research and they've concluded why people taking intoxications, because intoxications are poisons, and why people take poisons willingly, destroying their own bodies. And so they've concluded that this is a subconscious attempt to destroy themselves, to punish themselves, because materialistic people, they know they're so bad and they cannot change, and they punish themselves by taking intoxications, destroying their own lives. It's really pathetic. Actually, we should feel sorry for these people, and that's why devotees making so much attempt to reach out to them and give them Krishna consciousness, to give them the positive alternative they don't have. But the devotee's life is completely opposite. Apavarga. A is a negation prefix. And so devotee's life has nothing to do with papha babha ma. There is no parishrama, there is no hard work. It's parikrama. Like we circumambulate around the temple or around the holy place. And so devotees, they don't work hard. They enjoy serving Krishna. Like our book distributors, they do a little parikrama every day around Los Angeles and area. They just have a stroll, have nice books with them and meeting nice people and having very pleasant conversations and giving people the books and encouraging them to reciprocate with donations. And so they choose where they want to go and which people they want to approach, and they do it out of their heartfelt desire to help people. So there is no parishrama. It's activity which is full of pleasure. And then there is no foam in the mouth. Devotees are doing whatever they do very happily. And there is no bandha. Rather, devotees are liberated. And there is no fear. We are very fortunate to have the most fearful Vaishnava as a founder of our institution, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And so devotees following in his footsteps, they also become fearless. And there is no death for devotees. Of course, devotees leave their mortal bodies, but it doesn't mean that they die. Actually, so-called end of the physical body is the beginning of real life for the devotees, full of eternity, bliss and knowledge. That's why devotees are not worried about leaving their bodies, because they know that they go to much better destination. And so, therefore, devotees' lives are completely opposite to the lives of materialistic people. And thus they advance in devotional service. Shraddha, Ratir, Bhaktir, Anukramishati. One after another, they develop faith, Rati, attachment to the Supreme Lord, and Bhakti, love for Him. And so, primarily, it is happening when devotees are hearing and discussing and thinking about Krishna and His transcendental pastimes. So we are so fortunate that we can enjoy this rejuvenating elixir of eternal life full of bliss and knowledge, and discussing these immortal pastimes. And of course, this question, which or surprise actually Maharaj Parikshit is expressing, that why did Krishna leave his mother, his actual mother Devaki, from whom he took birth, and why did he spend all his childhood with his foster mother and father, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. And of course, then Shukadeva Goswami describes who were the Nanda and Yashoda in their previous lives as Drona and Dhara. And Srila Prabhupada explains that these are eternal mother and father of Krishna. And but still, even though Vasudeva and Devaki are also in that category of Krishna's associates, and Yashoda and Nanda, they are in that category, but there is a difference. And actually the difference is very interesting. It's in consciousness, in mentality. And of course, these pastimes are enacted just for us to learn very important principles in Krishna consciousness. And so if we track it back to the 4th chapter, which describes the appearance of the Supreme Lord, we can understand what was the difference in mentality between Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Okay, this book doesn't have the 4th chapter. So, but anyway, that Srila Prabhupada, that Krishna tells Devaki and Vasudev who they are after he appeared and how did they got this great fortune to have him as a son. And actually very similar. They were also in their previous lives as Sutapa and Prishni performing great austerities, and they pleased actually they pleased the Supreme Lord. And so he said, so how can I reciprocate with your austerities? What can I do for you? And then they say, we want to have you as your son. And that's it. They just wanted to have the Supreme Lord as their son. But then if we go a little bit further and look at the text 49, which will be happening tomorrow, and I'm sure There is a lot to say about this particular statement because it's really, really deep. But just as a little preview, we will say that what was the desire Drona and Dara, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj expressed addressing Brahma. Actually, it's interesting. Sutapa and Prishni got the blessing from the Supreme Lord, and they wanted him as a son. But then Drona and Dara, they went through the Lord's devotee, Lord Brahma, and listened to what kind of desire they expressed. And it's really interesting. It's very subtle. But the whole Krishna consciousness is very, very subtle science. So we'll see the difference. They say, please permit us to be born on the planet Earth, so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller and Master of all planets will also appear and spread devotional service, the ultimate goal of life, so that those born in this material world may very easily be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life by accepting this devotional service, which is very amazingly echoes that purport, that text and purport Swavas Prabhu read yesterday, which explains that devotees, they are very compassionate towards the fallen conditioned souls, and they want to help the Lord to deliver the conditioned souls. And the Lord shows a lot of mercy to such devotees. And so actually Drona and Dara had that mentality. They did not just want to have Krishna as their son. They wanted to facilitate, they wanted to serve Krishna, they wanted to help Krishna to execute his purposes in delivering, in liberating the conditioned souls and bringing them back to him in his devotional service. They just wanted to be useful for the Lord in his service. So that is very, very subtle difference in mentality. Same rasa. But this is why the Lord chose Yashoda and Nanda over Vasudeva and Devaki. Because yayatamam prapadyante, as they surrender unto me, I reciprocate with them accordingly, Krishna says. So they wanted Krishna to be their son, Vasudeva and Devaki, so he appeared as their son, but that was it. Their desire was fulfilled. And then he was gone to Nanda and Yashoda, who wanted to facilitate his pastimes. And so Krishna did that. Krishna is very magnanimous, but it's very interesting that Krishna is always fulfilling the devotees' desires exactly as devotees express them. And I had very interesting experience, few interesting experiences of learning how this works with Krishna. Because we all have desires, we all express our desires to Krishna. And so one time, that was many years ago, we were heavily involved in constructing a temple in Russia. And the beginning was very smooth. We had a couple of very, very big donors who promised to supply us financially, practically with no limits. We could construct temple of any size. And then the worst possible recession hit Russia shortly after that, and our donors lost everything. And so we were stuck with half-constructed temple, and this was in the area where the temperature fluctuations are very big, like it gets very cold and very hot. And so under this condition, if the building is half-constructed, it becomes ruined in no time. So we were facing with the alternative either to abandon the whole thing or keep going. And we've decided to keep going. And so I was basically distributing books. I went to Europe, to UK, and I was distributing books. And my primary purpose was to collect funds, just enough to keep the construction going. And so I have Govardhan Shila I'm worshipping. And pretty much every single morning after my puja, I was making a very interesting prayer to Giriraj. Please, Giriraj, be merciful to me. And so send on the book distribution as many favorable people as you can who would give me very generous donations. Praying for money. Because, Giriraj is, even though he is Krishna himself, but he is also a supply department in Vrindavan. So you can actually ask Giriraj for facilities in serving Krishna. And so it was happening. Every single day I was meeting more and more favorable people, and they were giving more and more generous donations. And then it was increasing every day. And I was thinking, oh, that's great. And then I actually started collecting more than double the minimum amount. And then I felt a little bit kind of embarrassed with myself. Why do I pray for money? Does Krishna not know what is needed? Why do I have to remind him? It doesn't make any sense. So I should not be doing that. And then one morning, my prayer was, my dear Lord, I'm sorry I was praying for money all this time. I actually not, I don't want to do that. Whatever you do, it's all in your hands. I'll accept whatever you do. The only thing I'm praying for is, please allow me to always remember you and never forget you. And I went out on book distribution being very kind of satisfied with my pure devotion. And guess what happened? This was the worst ever day on book distribution. No one wanted to stop. And if people would stop, they wouldn't give anything, or they would give, literally something next to nothing. And so this was my longest day on book distribution, and I've collected very miserable amount. And all day long I was thinking, Giriraj, what happened? Giriraj, why have you done this to me? Why did it change so drastically? And all day long I was thinking, Giriraj, 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 Giriraj. And then I just couldn't wait till I come back to kind of, ask him what happened. And then when I came back, I bowed down to him, and I was very frustrated and upset. But when I looked at his smiling face, it was very clear, as if he was saying to me, you were detached from the results, right? You only wanted to remember me, so your desire is fulfilled. What else do you want? Would you like to make another prayer? I said, oh, Giriraj, I'm sorry for this mistake. Please fix it again. From tomorrow onwards, please, let it carry on as it was before. Let me meet as many favorable people as I can, and let them give donations which are as generous as possible. And so, believe it or not, from next day onwards, I was back on track. And so I learned a lesson. If you want a pure surrender, pure devotional service, be ready for surprise. Expect the unexpected. And this was the kind of thing we were supposed to learn long time back. Because, look at all these examples, all these great devotees. We all think, oh, they're so fortunate to have Krishna as their son and have a privilege of directly associating with the Lord and enjoying his wonderful pastimes. His pastimes are so amazing. Just look at the pastime which just has been described, how Krishna shows the universal form to Mother Yashoda, how Mother Yashoda actually heard from Balaram and other coward boys that Krishna had eaten earth. And in fact, I looked up on the internet, and it's quite a common thing in rural areas amongst children that they tend to eat earth. It even has a name. It's named geophagia. That children, they tend to eat clay or earth. And so Krishna just, playing the part of the human child, he also kind of ate earth. He actually did so. And so other boys, they turned him in to Mother Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda was challenging Krishna, so you've eaten earth? And Krishna, of course, as a little child, was lying to Mother Yashoda. No, I haven't eaten any earth. But then you should open your mouth and let me see if there is any earth in your mouth or not. And then Krishna is thinking, oh, my mother wanted to see the earth in my mouth? Okay, no problem. And so he opens his mouth, and Mother Yashoda is seeing not only earth, planet, but the sun and moon and everything. And so it became too much for her, and then she was bewildered. And then Krishna covers her with the influence of Yoga Maya again to help her forget that incident. So we can see that Krishna is he is so magnanimous. Whatever you want to see. You want to see the earth in my mouth? Okay, you'll see the earth. And with Brahma, you want to see my majesty, my majestic manifestations as, four-handed Narayan. I'll show you not only one Narayan, I'll show you hundreds of thousands of Narayans. Or to Indra, actually to the Nanda Maharaj and the other residents of Vrindavan. They wanted, if you remember, they wanted to perform Indra Yagya. For what purpose? They wanted to get rain, right? And Krishna told them, don't worry about the rain. Don't worry about worshipping Indra for the rain. Just worship Govardhan, you'll get everything you wanted. So they worshipped Govardhan, and what they got? They got so much rain they couldn't handle it. They got much more rain than they expected. And so Krishna used that opportunity to perform another pastime. So we can see these pastimes are quite amazing, but for us to hear about those pastimes and to contemplate on those, but if we imagine ourselves being participant in those pastimes, being in Vrindavan, in one sense, it's like a horror movie. Every single day, some horrible monsters are attacking Vrindavan, and everyone is so scared. And mostly they scared for Krishna, because they know that these monsters, they want to kill Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada actually says in one place that Mother Yashoda's love for Krishna is so great that she is ready to die 1,000 times for each hair falling from Krishna's body. So we can understand what kind of shock Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and other residents of Vrindavan, they go through every single day. And so this is the price for them to be in Krishna's pastimes. So it's a serious sacrifice. But they can handle it because their level of Krishna consciousness is so high. Just considering those descriptions, if you think of an ordinary human being, any of those experiences, especially for ladies, that would be enough to have lifelong post-traumatic, what they call it, post-traumatic syndrome, right? So, but they have these kind of things happening every single day. And we never read the descriptions that any of them had any post-traumatic syndromes. So this is their level of devotion. Mm. But it's just to illustrate the point that ordinary devotees, they are meant to perform so-called ordinary service, and extraordinary devotees, they can perform amazing feats together with the Supreme Lord. And so there are many points connected to these pastimes, but it's a very subtle science, Krishna consciousness, and it's meant for us to study it very carefully and understand that it's not by imitating. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that anyone who wants to become Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, that's Mayavad. He says that in Nectar of Devotion. But those devotees who are attracted by Vatsalya Rasa, they're meant to serve Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj in their service, be instrumental in their service, because this is the mood, real devotional mood, which is actually exemplified very nicely by Drona and Dara, by praying that rather than have a result, have Krishna, even such a devotional result as having Krishna as their son, they wanted to facilitate Krishna's pastimes. They wanted to serve. So we can see that the real devotion is always based on this service attitude, service mood. How can I be useful? And it seems like this is the biggest message for us through the Bhagavatam. That's why all these descriptions are given. And this service attitude makes those exchanges between Krishna and devotees so sweet and so attractive that for thousands of years, actually forever, devotees are enjoying just hearing, discussing, meditating on these pastimes. One of my god sisters, she's from Moscow, and professionally she's a scriptwriter for the movies, but as a side hobby, she's a very nice artist, and she depicts Krishna's pastimes in a form of miniatures. And I've heard commentaries made by a couple of senior Vaishnavas that these mini paintings she's doing is not just paintings, but these are deities, because she's capturing the mood so nicely. And just as a way to meditate on Mother Yashoda and Krishna, I wanted to show one of her works. Maybe Sachitana Prabhu can have a look and pass it around. Of course, I would like to get it back at the end, but you can meditate on this work. And so, maybe some of you can add something or correct whatever. Yes, Maharaj, Amalabhakta Maharaj. Yes. Welcome back. Very nice to see Maharaj back to New Dwarka.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Very fulfilling. Oh, I thought I keep it. It's very fulfilling and satisfying, your appreciation and love and devotion to Krishna in relation to Mother Yashoda, and this is something that we can all profit from. What I wanted to mention, there were 2 points, if I can remember them. The one had to do with your praying for meeting favorable people on Sankirtan. And generally speaking, we don't demand anything from Krishna. We don't order him. We don't say, I want this, or I would like to have this. Please give this to me. Of course, it's a good desire. There's no question about it. But the way these are usually put together, for example, we have a prayer every morning. my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please send us new Sankirtan devotees. So the preface of if you so desire means that if you want this, please, we would like to have it. But you have the right to decide not to want it. In other words, we don't decide. We're not the orderer. Krishna, here's our desire, but prefaced with the allowance or the desire that Krishna should be the ultimate, should be the ultimate arbiter as to whether we should get it or not. So that was the first point I wanted to make. We cannot demand from Krishna, we cannot order Krishna. We can desire, but we should desire with the idea that I want what Krishna desires. So if he desires it, then yes, I want it. So that was my first point. And second is a real, I'm sorry. Second is a real quick one, and that is, you had mentioned that many psychologists, they come to the conclusion that people take intoxication because they know it's poison and they simply want to kill themselves. That may be, but that, in my understanding, is not the main reason why people take intoxication. They may or may not know that it's poison. Even if they know it's poison, the most important thing to a person who is taking it is he's suffering, he's miserable, he can't stand living, he needs some relief, he needs some succor. And how does he get it? The intoxication lifts the gloom from what he is suffering, at least temporarily. And that is his fix, that is his reason for going on, that he has some joy, he has some pleasure, he has some high at this point. Of course, the next point is that he then, as high as he gets, he then goes down, okay? So then when he's down, again, not only does he have the gloom that he had before, but he has more gloom. Because the more you try to enjoy, the more you suffer. They balance one another out. So because the suffering is now even greater, the need for more of the intoxication is greater. So it's a vicious cycle in which a person ultimately may, and often does, kill himself through overdosing, but not through a desire to kill oneself. Really what he wants is joy, he wants bliss, he wants to recover what he intuitively knows he should have, but never gets as a result of his materialistic focus and materialistic understanding and materialistic motivations. So that's all.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, there is a Russian joke. One man says to the other, "Why are you smoking? Don't you know that smoking is a slow death?" And that man says, "I'm not in rush at all." I'm not rushing. All right. So, thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.